Leon, what did you make of President Aliyev's speech, and what do you make of these new horizons opening in Baku-Washington relations?
Well, good evening. Thanks very much for the opportunity. I thought it was a very interesting speech, short and succinct. He was very keen to remind everyone that this was in relation to the rapprochement between Azerbaijan and Armenia, that it was a bilateral negotiation of the Minsk group, which was the grand blocker of anything they wanted to achieve for a very long time, has been disbanded. I mentioned this last time I appeared. I think he was also very keen to mention that the success of the Azerbaijani economy for many years, the oil boom, that there is, despite the best intentions post the hosting of COP and what they're trying to do in terms of the energy transition, there is going to be an ongoing demand for oil and gas. I thought it was also very notable that he mentioned the digital silkway. That's not something I've heard him talk about before. So a tech evolution, a new series of opportunities for both the region and for Azerbaijan. Obviously, also keen to pat himself and all the government on the back for what is actually a very, very good economic record. So mentioning Fitch and Moody's and the upgrading of the rating, level of debt to GDP just over 6%. These are great achievements. But the most notable was the thing that you pointed out at the beginning of your screening or coming on to interview. We are against war, we must have peace. And even more importantly, international law must prevail. So I think that the non-interference in the affairs of other states, that is both relevant to Azerbaijan, but you could absolutely draw a line to what his views are vis-a-vis Israel, Palestine, and Ukraine, Russia.
Today is day one of the UK-Azerbaijan policy forum, and I would like to ask a question about the UK's interest in the South Caucasus. I mean, there are a couple of elements that I would like to focus on. We know that to a certain extent, as part of the special relationship, UK and US still coordinating when it comes to different regions, and I imagine this applies to South Caucasus as well. So today is was day one of first UK-Azerbaijan policy forum, where one particular element was mentioned, that the perception of Azerbaijan has changed as of 8th of August 2025. The country before was associated with conflict, with war, with that intractable issue regarding Karabakh. Now everything has changed. And to what extent this is felt in the UK, and to what extent this will influence UK policies towards the wider region? Because we quite often say in Azerbaijan that the European Union has failed to formulate a coherent vision entailing the entire Caucasus, Azerbaijan, Armenia, Georgia. Could we expect the emergence of a new comprehensive UK vision entailing all three countries? What is your feeling about this particular subject matter?
My answer to that, Orhan, given my political leanings, you might imagine what I think of this Labour government. But what I would say is, with the advent of a new Foreign Secretary just swapped out in the latest reshuffle, her focus is going to be absolutely on Ukraine and Israel-Palestine, 1 and 2, by a country mile. That said, you're absolutely right that the way that Azerbaijan and the region is perceived now vis-a-vis 10, 15, 20 years ago is fundamentally different. I mean, we would absolutely kill for a debt to GDP ratio of which Azerbaijan enjoys. I think that there is a new dawn in terms of the lines of what Karabakh represents within Azerbaijan today. That is a conflict that is now fundamentally settled. I mean, going back to your conversation with the host there before about what President Aliyev said about Trump, I mean, that is obviously, he's paying praise to him because he wants to create the best possible value out of that new relationship with the United States commercially and economically. In terms of what can happen in terms of UK-Azerbaijan bilaterally or within the wider region, I have to say, as a country, we're broke in the UK. We have a budget coming up on November 26th, and we are all anticipating to pay higher taxes, and it's not going to be much fun for especially those in business. But in terms of renewable energy transition, this is something, and/or a digital hub of Europe, the Silicon Valley of Europe, that is something that UK sees as a future for itself. And if it can couple that with what Azerbaijan is trying to achieve there in the region, I think there are new opportunities, but it's got to come from both sides.